There's a number of diasporans who are just tired and fed up of the diaspora. They just want to go back home, whether it's Zimbabwe, Ghana, Nigeria, or whatever it is. They're just tired because for some of us, we've been here 25 years plus, and we've realized that the more we work, yes, this country has given us a lot in terms of stability, the environment for our children, and all of that. But what about us? What's the future for us as we get older? And perhaps you're one of those that are saying, I just want to go back home. But you know what? It is not as easy as you think. Now, for the vast majority of people, you really have to work and make sure that your income keeps coming in. Of course, there are some who are privileged in a sense because they've managed to crack that code and make things work for them back home in their home countries, whether it's Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, whatever it is. They've managed to make it work. But sometimes it's not always wise to just look at the success stories and not talk about the hurdles and the difficulty that we encounter to try and make this work. Now, I'll speak for myself. I'm in year 2 now, still trying to make things work back home. I've tried everything. Yes, people say cell phone farming doesn't work. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. I agree and I understand. I've also spent 3 years on the ground in Zimbabwe trying to make it work. So I've done both. I've done it being on the ground, and right now I'm doing it over the phone. Both of them are equally difficult. The reason why they're difficult is because a lot of the times, as diasporans, we feel like time is running out and we become very emotional. And you know, every time you're emotional and you make an emotional decision, that decision does not really work out. A lot of us lose a lot of money because we're desperate. We want things to work now. But have you realized that for the vast majority of diasporans, we are good at what we do, which is work. Whether it's nursing, whether it's whatever field it is, we're good at that. But are we good at business? Are we good at management? Are we even good leaders? These are the 3 things, or some of the things that you need to have something successful on the ground. Don't underestimate business. It's not easy. Running a business and making it successful is not easy. So you'll find that sometimes we may have saved the money and then we go into a business and this is the first time around, right? First time around. And not only that, we're doing this in a foreign country. You know, when we go back to our countries, we are like foreigners because the system that we have adjusted to and we've gotten used to is the Western system. So over there, things have changed. You know how weird it is going back to your neighborhood after 20 years. Everyone is gone. Things have changed. And this is the environment we're trying to start our businesses. No wonder why it's not working, because it doesn't work even here in the West, because the failure rate of any business here is in the 90s, 90% to 95%. In the West, failure rate. So to think that we can just set up a business back home and it's going to work just like that, it's wishful thinking. Now, I'm not saying this to demotivate anyone, because I'm always going to come up with a solution of what's really working. Now, in my case, I did the chickens. I'm sure you've seen the videos where I was talking about my chickens and how I eventually just stopped the project. Now, the reason why I stopped it is because I realized that I really have to be there on the ground and I have to monitor things even closer, because the margins of error are very, very small. You mess up one thing, you know, it has a knock-on effect. I'll just give you a few examples. Let's say you ignore biosecurity. That biosecurity can mess up 2,000 chickens. Just the biosecurity. Let's say you're feeding your chickens and in one particular week, you're running low on money and now the chickens are not feeding on the proper amounts they're supposed to eat. That can mess up their growth. Let's say you haven't done the vaccinations properly. That can mess up the whole flock. Let's say you haven't done fumigation properly, because after you remove, the chickens, you're supposed to fumigate the whole place, make sure it's clean for the next, 10, 15 days. If you don't do that and you're desperate to add more chickens in, that can be a disaster as well. I've witnessed it. I have chickens that, just stop growing. So there needs to be a very strong grip in terms of what needs to be done for these chickens to grow. That is why I realized I couldn't do it from here. Of course, I can get someone who's qualified to be there on the ground and make sure everything is working. But you know what? It's just too much of a high risk. Okay. So at the moment, as we speak, I have about 360 chickens. They are all in my storage freezer. You know, those commercial freezers. So actually next week I am going to be selling those chickens, and I'll appreciate if you can support me on that one, because I am going to be selling them through the website and then have the team on the ground deliver those chickens. So hopefully, you know, you can support me on that one, but I will make an announcement for it. So I decided, you know what? Okay, we've put the chickens to the side. What else can I do that is not very intensive? Well, the vegetables. Right now, as we speak, I've got more than half a hectare of kovo on Ruwa Organic Farm. I'll be sharing a lot of this information very, very soon. I just need some videographers to go on the ground and do some filming for me so you can see what is happening, because I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, well, hey, Ruwa, you know, everything has been quiet. What's going on? Have you given up? You know, are you ever going to go back to Zimbabwe? Definitely I am going to go back to Zimbabwe. I'm not giving up. I'm just trying to look for the right formula, you know, the right formula. So anyway, I did the kovo. Do you know that just the kovo alone, it can cost close to $3,000 just for the kovo project? And in my case, I've had to get another person to site for water at the farm. Now, this is a professional. I paid quite a lot of money for this. Just a lot of money. So I am going to definitely need to have a constant supply of water. So let's see what happens. But in the meantime, I've been just using the water from the Lord. It's been raining like crazy. And my vegetables have grown. In fact, we've taken the first batch to the market, and definitely there is a market, because within 30 minutes, everything was all sold. This is a story for another day. I'll do a dedicated video for that. I mean, it's very, very exciting news. So the reason why I made this video is because if we are deciding to retire, there are going to be a few things that you need to have in place for this to work. We are going to need some source of income. We have to generate some money on the ground some way, somehow. We have to generate that money. So the question now is, how do we do that? We're left with projects. That's the main thing, projects. Whether it's piggery, whether it's beef, vegetables, any form of farming. Going into mining, I wouldn't recommend that. You know, mining would be crazy. But anyway, we need some sort of form of money coming in to sustain us, because we don't want to be in that situation where we are begging money from our children. You know, that's old school. That's the way our parents used to think. We need to change that. So now we're going to need to find a way of generating money on the ground. And this is where the tricky part is, because we go in with money thinking if we pour in this money into this project, it's going to work. But not so fast. Not so fast. We need to be solid in running a business, in management, how to deal with people, and you also have to be streetwise, because Zimbabwe has changed. I'm going to talk specifically about Zimbabwe here. It has changed. For those of you that have lived here 15, 20 years, when you go back on the ground, not on holiday, but to really be hands-on, it's not going to be very, very easy, because we are used to a different system of life and a different system of dealing with things. So it puts us in a position where, so how do we retire back home? For those of us who are tired and don't want to spend the next 5, 10, 15 years in the UK, how then do we retire? How do we do it? That is the question that is the most important for anyone that wants to retire back home. And I have a few ideas. If you have a house on mortgage, one of the ways, if you are tired and you don't want to live in the diaspora anymore, one of the ways is get a company, like an agent that will put your house on the market for you and rent it out. Just rent it out. That way, the agent, I don't know how they operate, but I'm pretty sure they'll guarantee you some sort of money coming through. Of course, they'll take a percentage and then live off of that money while you're back home in Zimbabwe. That's one way if you have a mortgage. If not, Like me, it's a tough one because this is where you really need to fight and make it work. Because I'm of the opinion that if you have money, let the money work for you. This is why you see I'm relentless when it comes to trying to make things work on the ground. They have to work because the money is there. I just need to crack that code. So you have to keep trying, but do it in such a way that it's not just emotion. Have people who are qualified to actually help you and guide you do this, especially even with the vegetables. This time I didn't do it by myself because, as you can imagine, if you're thinking commercial, you're going to need to think about the seedlings. They have to be proper, hybrid, all right? You have to look at your soil. You have to look at the water situation. You're going to need an agronomist. Don't go solo. You're going to waste money. A lot of these projects, the reason why we lose money is because we try to go solo. No. Have an agronomist that is going to help you through this journey. In fact, just yesterday, I was looking at the cameras and I noticed that the workers might be going into the field trying to get the vegetables, perhaps maybe to even sell them. Thank God I've got the cameras because I was able to just immediately get to the bottom of it. And I gave my warning and I said, listen, if you're in the field and you're not supposed to be there on that day and there's no work that needs to be done and I see you there, this may end up as a police case. No negotiations, no questions asked. No one is supposed to be in the field and no one is supposed to come to the farm if they're not supposed to be there. And thank God I have these cameras. They are really working really, really well. And I'm super excited about the cameras. But anyway, do you see the investment that needs to go in for this to really work? You need cameras. You're probably going to need to pay for 5G, Wi-Fi. If you don't have that, you're going to need Starlink. It's a serious investment. So you need to have all these fundamentals in place for you to run a very successful business on the ground. But the good news is once you get the business up and running, you're going to love it back there because your money goes really far. You know how we pay the bills here, how crazy it is, where you have your council tax probably about 150, you have your electric bill, you have your gas bill, both of them close to 300. It's just too much. In Zimbabwe, I think I made a video where I was just comparing the bills. Now, at my house, I have a solar system. And for the majority of time, there is always sun. There's always going to be the sun. So my batteries are all fully charged for the most part. I have everything running, even the fridges. Perfect. So that's zero on my electric bill. Okay, if I do need to use Zesta sometimes, maybe it's raining or it's overcast. Yeah, but it's not going to be more than $30 per month. So I've cut down on one of the biggest bills here in the UK. That's amazing. Food-wise, if you grow some of your food yourself, you'll have saved so much money. It's unbelievable. And then, of course, chickens, you can have your own road runners running around. You can even have your own eggs. So the lifestyle back home is way better. But like I said, you need to sort out that situation where your income is in place. And once you sort that out, you're pretty much in a good place. Now, we have a community of diasporans on Kumusha Investors. Kumusha Investors is a platform for diasporans. We are going to help each other with investment ideas. And not only that, we're all going to come together and, for example, buy land. And once we've purchased that land, develop it all as diasporans. This is one of those opportunities where we are going to be able to have things happening on the ground in Zimbabwe. One of the biggest challenges that we have is if you want to build a house back home, you're going to rely on friends, relatives, and so on. And a lot of us have lost a lot of money that way, me included. We have lost a lot of money. So the Kumusha Investors Project, or rather platform, allows us to put our money together in a very transparent and open way where you can see where the money is going. We have an advisory committee there. Pretty much all those bottlenecks that caused a lot of people to lose money, we've fixed that. We have a platform which is very transparent and based on trust, transparency, and accountability. So if you wanted to, let's say, invest back home, we're going to be doing it as a diaspora community. If you want to go into business, we do it as a diaspora community. Doing it alone is a challenge because of the lack of expertise and also the fact that you can't be there on the ground. This solves a lot of problems. I will leave a link to kumushainvestors.com in the video description below. Be part of the community. It's absolutely free. But of course, when we start doing our projects, you can decide which one you want to go with and, start from there. Very soon, we're going to have a meeting with the advisory committee to talk about the calendar of 2026 and what we're going to be doing, what the projects are, and how everyone can get engaged. So keep an eye on the websites and also keep an eye on any announcements. Anyway, that's my take on that. There isn't a clear, easy way of just retiring back home if you're tired of the diaspora. It's not as straightforward. It's not that clear. I wish there was just one clear line where I can just say, do this and it works. Man, I've lost a lot of money, and I've spoken to a lot of people as well. They've lost a lot of money, and we all fall into the same sort of trap. We are not professional enough for us to run the business back home. But of course, there are also other successful stories. I've spoken to a few other people that are really doing it while they're here in the diaspora. It's working out for them. And kudos to that. But we will make it. We are definitely going to reach our dream of retiring back home. One way or another, we're going to make it. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'd like to hear your comments in the video description below. And until next time, thanks for watching. And I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.